Philosophical Investigations by Ludwig Wittgenstein is an unfinished manuscript translated by G.E. Anscombe and published posthumously in 1953. In it, Wittgenstein explores various arguments about the nature of language, ultimately concluding that language is too fluid to be analyzed with fixed rules and should instead be described in terms of its usage. The manuscript is divided into two parts. The first part consists of remarks, while the second, in later editions, is titled Philosophical Investigations and Philosophy of Psychology, a fragment. Rather than presenting philosophical problems with their solutions, Wittgenstein adopts a method similar to Socratic dialogue. He introduces ideas, examines them, and either revises or supports them while addressing potential objections from the reader. The work begins with a quote from Augustine, describing language learning as a process where words correlate with objects, and those objects then define the words. This model works for common and proper nouns, but Wittgenstein shows that it fails to account for more complex words. He argues that the use of a word is more important than its inherent meaning. For example, if someone is asked to fetch 5 red apples, they associate the word apple with a familiar object, match red with a color, and count to 5. The actual meaning of 5 is less important than the ability to count out the apples correctly. Wittgenstein demonstrates that language involves more than simple word-object associations, though he uses an example to illustrate Augustine's definition. A builder and his assistant communicate using a language of just 4 words: block, pillar, slab, and beam. The assistant learns to associate each word with the corresponding object and responds to the builder's instructions accordingly. However, this system breaks down with more abstract words like game, which don't correspond to a single object but encompass various kinds of games. Thus, Augustine's description applies only to some parts of language. One common method of language learning is through ostension, where objects are pointed out as their corresponding words are spoken. The assumption is that this association evokes an image in the learner's mind. While ostension plays a role, Wittgenstein argues that it cannot function independently. For instance, a lever's identity within a machine depends on its role in the device. Out of context, it loses its meaning. Language, likewise, requires a social context to be understood. Wittgenstein later modifies the builder's example to include words like there and this, allowing for more complex communication. The assistant can now carry out tasks involving specific locations. Wittgenstein compares the idea that all words signify something to the idea that all tools change something. Language, like tools, operates within a system of use. A hammer drives a nail into place, and the nail, in turn, strengthens the structure of a box. Wittgenstein uses this analogy to illustrate that even with words like this and there, language remains incomplete and constantly evolving. He likens older forms of language to a maze, while newer, more scientific language is akin to a well-planned suburb. This ongoing development leads him to conclude that imagining a language is akin to imagining a form of life. Wittgenstein introduces various sentence types: corresponding, interrogative, imperative, and declarative, emphasizing that these categories shift as language changes. He also revisits Plato's theory that names represent simples, the basic elements from which everything else is built. According to Plato, things that cannot be described must first be named, and then language is constructed around them. Wittgenstein, however, argues that no matter how simple an object appears, something more fundamental can always be found. For example, a chair might seem simple, but when you break it down into wood and the wood into atoms, it becomes much more complex. Wittgenstein abandons his earlier search for a general form that encompasses all propositions in language, realizing that it is impossible to find one common element across all language. He uses the word game to demonstrate this. While all games share a family resemblance, they differ in nature and characteristics. The concept of a game isn't fixed, yet both the speaker and listener can understand its intended meaning, even though it lacks precision. Rather than rigidly defining language, Wittgenstein suggests that meaning can be conveyed through examples and analogies. He argues that language cannot be understood through formal logic because its rules and meanings are not fixed. Viewing language through the lens of logic risks undervaluing it. Instead, logicians should focus on clarifying misunderstandings that arise from imprecise language use. While vague sentences are not inherently wrong, Wittgenstein compares this vagueness to locking a man in a room but leaving the door open, asking, "Is an enclosure with a hole as good as no enclosure at all?" Similarly, a game without strict rules is still a game, but an imperfect one. Logic remains essential, though, because multiple perspectives are needed to fully investigate language, just as understanding chess requires knowledge of both the physical pieces and the rules. Rather than explaining language, Wittgenstein believes we must describe it. Philosophical explanations are elusive because, in his view, philosophy is a battle against the bewitchment of our intelligence by language. Through his descriptions, he uncovers the limits of language, ultimately seeing the value in these discoveries. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.